All right, you guys. Well, welcome to the team call this evening. And as you guys saw from my post, I have a special guest this evening, Doug Barlow. And for those of you who don't know him, which everybody on this call should, it's Dr. Mitra's husband. So very cool. So just a couple things that I wanted to kick off the meeting by is actually, I think every single one of you guys who's on this evening kind of reached out to me and asked what I was doing for the cold market. We had a training last week, Doug, with Ginger Carter, who gave Mitra that Pioneer Award thing. That was pretty cool. But she did a cold market training for us, which I just thought was fabulous. And I've been putting some of the things to use and ended up with a T120 customer from Facebook I didn't even know yesterday, and wound up with a personal trainer distributor today who I did not know before that training. So I didn't know, has anybody else been putting it to use? I know, Alexandria, you have. Do you care to share at all? I don't know if you can, if you have a little kid in the background or not, but just be kind of thinking about sharing maybe. Alex, can you share?
Hey, I'm here.
Okay.
So I have used it. I've set up a few different meetings through Meetup, and Lindsay actually attended one of those. And I have been setting up at a gymnastics gym as well, so I've been really busy, but I've used her verbiage as well. This is why I do what I do. And it sparked some interest. Heather, that was actually on the call with Dr. Misha Ray, she joined the call because I said, this is why I do what I do. So that seemed to work very well. I actually really liked her verbiage a lot, so I'm going to continue to use it. So after this call, I have to follow up with her so we can sign her up as a distributor.
Right on. I love it. Well, and the other verbiage that I've stole as well, and you know, it's so true. I can't believe I haven't been using it before, but that, yeah, I've had the opportunity to partner with the #1 nutritional product in the world. And that's so true, but that totally sparks people's interest, and it totally takes us out of the category of Beachbody, Isogenics, Advocare, all that, which is where people usually, I was having trouble anyway, store Juice Plus right into that category. So yeah, this is just a cool training series for January with all these guests on here, and Doug tonight is going to kind of go through taking this to the next level. I know a lot of us have been, you know, kind of toying with the idea of doing it, whether we want to do it, whether we don't, whether we want it as like a side job, whether we want it as a full-time job, and he's going to kind of go through what it means for this to be a hobby and what it means for it to be, you know, a full-time gig. So with that being said, Mr. Barlow, go for it. And I
awesome.
I'll let you know if we can't hear you.
Okay. Well, when I said, you know, as many of you may know, you know, we just looked at how effective the Monday night call is, and while it's great for those people that are on it, it just didn't get enough usage. So I realized there's so many groups in our organization that have these their own team calls that I would be best used to, you know, just kind of jump on everybody else's call. And so thanks for asking me to be on your call, and Happy New Year, everybody. I hope everybody had a great holiday season. And yeah, I think maybe I'll just call this talk, you know, it's a new year, 2016, take no prisoners. And I guess when I think of, you know, what Nancy asked me to share, you know, it really is about what you want out of this business. I mean, we all want something extra. I think but on some level, what else do you need? You live in America. I mean, isn't that good enough? And when I look at, you know, it's a new year, so I'll kind of cut right to the chase. I'm over, I don't know, I've been doing this for 21 years now, and yeah, great product, you know, #1 nutritional product in the world. Transform 30 has really been a game changer in terms of a program. You've got an unbelievable company in terms of integrity. You've got a skill set you can learn and go pro. So on some level, you know, if you were going to evaluate, you know, how what are my chances of doing, being successful in this? All of the tools are there. You've got a vehicle, you've got a skill set, you've got a mindset, you've got a company that backs you up. So the real question is, you, the individual. And, like I was saying, over 21 years, the one thing that I've tried to figure out, can I make a difference in people? Does this make a difference in people? And in the end, it's just the individual decides. It's kind of like drawing a line in the sand. I'm not willing to accept the things as they are anymore, and I'm going to do something different to create, if you keep doing the same thing over again, you'll get more of the same. So on some level, if you're not satisfied with where your business is, you just have to look at, well, what am I doing? Obviously, maybe it's not, and I wouldn't say that it's not right, but maybe you just have to tweak a few things. And I've become a big believer that the 80-20 rule is always in effect. So while I look at, I don't know how many, let's see, does it say here? There's got to be some. Oh, it says there's 8 participants, 8 on the call. Not to be, negative or anything, but the reality. The reality is, unless you come. Did you lose me?
For a second. Yeah, you
Okay.
The reality is, and then it cut off. Uh-oh.
Yeah, if the 80-20 rule is in effect, the reality is that,
Dang it. Yeah, his internet is not.
Oh, I can hear you.
Yeah, it is. You're totally roboticized.
I don't know why that.
I don't know. Well, you're back now. I think we.
Yeah.
Also.
Hang on 1 second. Let me.
Okay. And he's gone, just like that. Well, while he's gone, for our NMD Upward Mobility Program call, we have one once a month, and Gordon Hessler was on it this month, and he had some really good insight about kind of just different things, like just different facts that kind of draw in the network marketing business. And if you guys don't know who Gordon Hessler is, he actually has helped Jeff Roberti build his business to where it's at right now. And a couple different things that I was going to talk about while Doug's figuring out his internet situation.
I'm back.
Are you back?
I'm back. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
Go ahead. Yeah, Gordon Hester. It's a
Hester.
T. Yeah, and he didn't help Roberti build his business. He helped Roberti manage his financial empire.
There you go. I knew he was involved somehow.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to give some stats right along with your 80-20 rule. He said that the number one business of why people fail at network marketing is fear. And he gave some really good instances as to like what that means, and I've talked about that with my clients. A lot of people have fear when they come and work out that everybody's watching them. And so, it draws them to not work out. And it's really a conclusion we've come to in our head. But when there's fear present, it's really hard to grow your business. So for instance, the example he gave is, when a child is growing up and learning to speak and learning how to, coexist in our world, there's no fear there. They don't care what they're wearing. They don't care what they look like. They're just stinking cute, right? So I take my daughter, for instance, she's learning everything there is to learn in today's world, and there's no fear present. So she's growing a lot, and she's learning things every day. And, if fear is present, he was kind of just saying that that's like the number one reason why your business normally is not moving, because there's fear present. So he gave the example of like a teenager, right? Like at the teenage age, we start caring what what we look like and what other people think, and a lot of growth stops happening at such a high rate when we hit those teenage years. So I thought that was just a really cool analogy. When we come out of the womb, we don't care. We're learning and we're growing, and that's the fastest growing and learning we'll ever do probably as a child. So if you can look at your business in that kind of light, I just thought that was such good verbiage. So yeah, and that just goes right along with your 80-20 fact. These things are all facts. So while we're listing facts, if we have the fact, Doug, go for it.
Well, yeah. So the other thing is, if those numbers don't sit good with people, it's a number.
Explain the 80-20, because we never heard what that actually was.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Yeah. So the 80-20 rule is, if you have 10 people on your team, in the end, 80% of the team does 20% of the work, and 20% of the team does 80% of the work. And, in terms of, oh, hey, I recruited 5 people this week. I got 5 people that say they want to, do HLP, do 2,000 plus, and fast track to sales coordinator in 6 months. I don't know what your numbers look like, but for me, it was exactly 80-20. For every 4 to 5 that said yes, only one of them did it. So having said that, when you look at, is your business where you're going? Is it your business going where you want it to go? You can always look at, well, how effective am I at, closing the sale or enrolling that person into that my solution is a good fit for the challenges that they shared with me. If you don't like the closing ratio, I love the baseball analogy. The best hitters in the world, the people who get paid the most money to whack the ball out of the park, they miss the ball on average 7 out of 10 times. And so you can always say, well, if you're going up against somebody who hits 3.5 home runs for every 10 balls that are thrown at you, is there any way that you, as someone who only hits 1 home run every 10 balls that are thrown at you, is there any way that you could win a game who gets to 10 home runs first? And the answer is yeah, because you can have them throw more pitches at you, and you can still win the game. So I'm always a big fan of putting numbers to your advantage. And in terms of looking at your numbers, how effective are you at what you're doing? So when you look at your business, I kind of parallel a lot of what I share. Kind of just goes right along with what Mitra does. So if you listen to the rep call today or in the past, it really is about what is your why for doing this? Like I said in the beginning of the call, this is America on some level. Like Jim Rohn said, what else do you need? This is your best chance to kind of get ahead. And even though for a lot of us, we want more out of life, we're in a situation where our job or our economic situation or our skill set or whatever, something keeps you from using the outside, the traditional system to help you get where you want to go. And then there's this thing called network marketing where you do not need a skill. You just have to find something that you can believe in and then take advantage of a simple system. But I'm also, so there's a lot of things that I've just learned, over it's about human behavior. Can I make a difference in people? It's like, I can make a difference by kind of just mirroring what they're doing and the result that they're getting. Bob Burdick, who's been with the company for a long time, he likes to say that the average person is making just enough money to stay exactly where they are. And my take on that is that if you're doing okay, then your desire to change things isn't very strong. I mean, you're doing okay. The question is, is that okay for you? And if it's okay for you, that's great. So, when you talk about people that do this for a hobby, not everyone does this to kind of create a financial empire or impact the world. for a lot of people, it is a community that you cannot find anywhere else. So maybe it is just like a secondary income stream that provides people with a sense of, giving back or adding value. Value to other people. What they're getting is all they need. Oh, it says on table. Come back. Come back.
Now I think back. Yeah.
I stopped talking. Okay. Is it working?
I think it's working now. Yeah. How weird.
Yeah. So, so there's a lot of, there's a lot of things that you have to kind of put, in order for yourself. So one of the things that, and I'll share a little training. It's not an original by me, but it really made a huge impact in terms of helping people look at the reality of what it is. So, you've got the vehicle, you've got the skill set, image can provide you with the mindset. And here again, if you're not doing all the things that the leadership throws out to you, you have to ask yourself why. I mean, and I see Ken's picture there, so I'll just pick his name. I know that, as a fireman, you can't just kind of you don't be a fireman as a hobby. You have to train hard, you have to pass a test. You have to constantly keep proving that you have what it takes to kind of, do the big work that's required as a fireman or a firewoman. So, there's a lot of education and time invested. And, with our business, it's like, for $50, you can say I'm in. And some people will take it on as a college education and some won't. So I'm just a big fan of, hey, participate in everything you can. And how does that work? You have to schedule it in. It's not always convenient to take advantage of a program like this that can potentially change your life forever. Yeah, it's like you have to make it a priority. So one of the trainings that I got early on made a lot of difference. We're all independent distributors. There's nobody cracking the whip telling you got to do this. It looks like I'm vacuuming now.
We can hear you.
Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I am at least.
Perfect. So there's nobody here that's going to make you do the work. The events will go on, the calls will take place, but if you don't show up, nobody's going to shame you into it. That's kind of probably one of the pitfalls. So it's up to you. So, I talked about, doing okay. Well, I doubt that you're spending your free time and, investing in yourself and going to conference. I doubt if you're going to conferences and going to meetings and presentations and filling up your calendar with events, I doubt people signed up for this, that type of a person. I doubt they signed up just to do okay. I mean, the difference between somebody who makes $10,000 a month in this business and $10 a year, the one thing is that person, they decided, I can't live unless I can't live without that $10,000 a month. That is a have to do for me. And it doesn't have to be 10,000. It's not always about the money, but it has to be about something that you are not willing to live with anymore or without. So, so the number one reason people do something with our business is because it's more like, I have to do this for my life to work. I have to kind of create something better. I have to improve my relationship, over here with my health, or I have to improve it with free time or whatever it is. So the story goes that, it's kind of like, it's a business contract. Imagine you are looking for your dream job and you're at a party and you bump into this guy who basically kind of says, I've got a job, it pays 6 figures a year, you got to do X, Y, Z, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, wow, that sounds like a great opportunity, but I don't think I could do that. And And so you have a conversation with this guy at the party, and then the night ends, and everybody goes home, and then a couple days later you get a call from this guy that you met at the party, and he said, hey, remember I was talking about that job offer? After our conversation, I think that you're the guy for that job. And so you kind of get all excited because when you're talking to him, it sounded like your dream job, and you're like, okay, great, I'm ready to sign up. When do I start? What are the, how much am I going to make? What's required? If you're going to take on a job that's a dream job, you want to know exactly what you're going to be expected of you and what the return on your investment of time is. So our opportunity, it's kind of like that dream job. The only problem is that there is no guy offering you the position. There's just you're both of the people. So the story kind of goes that you become Doug 1, who's the boss, and then Doug 2 is the boss C, but they're the same people. Because as I said, hey, I want to get started with my virtual franchise and do Transform 30. When can I start? And so the story kind of goes, oh, my connection is unstable. Am I still there? Dang this.
You are still there. I keep forgetting I'm on mute. Yeah, I think we still heard you through it all. So.
Okay. So basically what you have for all of you is you have a contract between yourself, the boss, and yourself, the bossee. So there's a Lindsay 1 and a Lindsay 2. There's Ken 1, Ken 2. We all have this kind of split personality going on. So here's what it looks like. You're getting started, and you tell Doug 2, make an agreement with Doug 1 that he's got 6 friends that he's going to contact, and he wants to get his HLP done. And so 8 o'clock in the morning, when Doug 1 says, okay, Doug 2, when are you going to make these calls? Doug 2 says, okay, I'm going to make those calls at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Doug 1 says, okay, great. I'll expect to hear back from you, by noon. Well, at 10 o'clock, there's some disaster in the house. The kids thrown up, and this happens and that happens, and the next thing you know, it's 11 o'clock. Doug 2 hasn't even showed up in the office, and at noon, he's only made 1 call. He hasn't got his HLP done, and he decides he's hungry. So when he walks from his office up to the kitchen, who do you think standing in the kitchen? It's Doug 1. And Doug 1 is kind of standing there looking at Doug 2 saying, hey, I thought we had an agreement. First day on the job, at 10 o'clock, I didn't see you sitting down at the phone. And Doug 2 says, oh, yeah, but it's okay. I'll make those calls later today. And Doug 1 just kind of stops him right there and says, hey, we had an agreement. I'm going to pay you 6 figures annually. You're going to only have to work, a maximum 20 hours a week, if that. You've got all these benefits, but if you don't do what you say you're going to do and start making those calls at 10 o'clock, we're going to have to renegotiate. So some people might say, hey, well, what's the big deal? It's like day 1, give the guy some slack, okay, so some life started happening. But the reality is, as soon as Doug 1 lets Doug 2 get away with a little bit of gives them enough room to hang himself, what happens there? But basically, Doug 1's kind of showing up as a hard ass for Doug 2 because he doesn't want to set a precedent. He doesn't want to develop a bad habit. Day 1. So the story goes that Doug 2 recommits. Doug 1 kind of jumps all over Doug 2. Doug 2 says, okay, I won't let that happen again. So the next thing that's going on is there's going to be a Zoom call, and Doug 2 says, hey, I'll be on the Zoom call. I've got 10 guests. It's all set up. I can't wait. I'm so excited about it. And the day before that Zoom call shows up, Doug 2's best friend Mark, who he hasn't seen in 20 years, comes into town, and they start having a good old time, and the next thing you know, like, the Zoom call's taking place. Doug 2 didn't even show up, and at the end of the night, Doug 2 comes home. He's tired. He's had too much fun with his friend Mark, and he goes to the shower. And when he opens up the bathroom door, who's standing there? It's Doug 1. And Doug 1 looks at Doug 2 and says, "Wow, you said you were going to show up and have 10 guests, and you didn't even have the courtesy to call and let me know what was going on." And then Doug 2 starts going on, "Oh, well, it's okay. I know I didn't make that call, but I was with my friend Mark all day. He's really excited about, what's going on. And Mark's going to be better than any of those 10 guests I had on the call." And, Doug 1 just kind of stopped right there. Hey, wait a minute. We had an agreement. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. You're gonna show. You made a commitment to that Zoom call, and you didn't even have the decency. So either you're gonna do what you say you're gonna do, or we're gonna have to renegotiate the 6-figure annual income and all the benefits and the ability to create free time for yourself. So Doug 2 just basically realizes that he's got to have a little more integrity. So what happens is, the final incident that takes place, or just one more example, is that they're going to do there's a regional training, and once again Doug 2 commits to making all these calls and having all these guests and showing up at the regional. Kind of same thing happens. Doug 2 shows up at the regional. He didn't do the work. Doug 1 meets him in the bathroom again and says, "Hey man, what's going on?" And so I share this because this is what it is for all of us. I mean, it's just one way to kind of look at, if you want X in your business, but you only have half X or a quarter X, or you're not even on the scoreboard yet, there's nobody to blame but you. And it's not really a blame game. It's just really, you have to revisit how important it is to you. So, in the end, Doug 2, why does Doug 1, we're still on?
Yeah, but you're frozen with an awesome face. There you go. Now you're back, I think.
So why does Doug 1 have such a vested interest in Doug 2? The typical scenario is that you kind of say, Doug 2 comes to Doug 1 and says, "Hey, so what? I'm doing okay. I've got a bunch of customers, and I do have some distributors. Okay, I'm not doing exactly as well as I want to be doing, but I'm doing okay." And the reality is, Doug 1 looks at Doug 2 and says, "Are you really doing this to just do okay? Weren't you doing okay before you said yes to all this extra stuff in your life?" And why does Doug 1 care so much about Doug 2? Why? Because for Doug 1 to kind of have all that he wants, he has to have Doug 2 make good on his commitment of doing what he said he's going to do and doing all these things. So when you look at doing okay, I mean, it's your call, but people don't get to walk the stage at conference for doing okay. People don't get commendations and acknowledgments for doing okay. You don't get written up in the newspaper and acknowledged by other leaders for just doing okay. I mean, if you want to do okay, you're probably doing that work right where you were. So I share this story just as one way to kind of look at what are you, who are you dealing with? Who is Lindsay 1? Who is Lindsay 1 to deal with Lindsay 2? And what kind of agreement do you have with yourself? Because in the end, you're the one that's going to do it. So, when you look at the 80-20 rule, and, it is the new year, if your business isn't where you want it to go, it really is a reflection of you. And you can always look at it like, oh, maybe I'm new, or, if you feel like you're doing the numbers, but you're not getting the result, you have to kind of work, you have to find out, well, why am I not getting the result? Why is my closing ratio not better than it is? And when you're by yourself, we all know that that's not, your mind is not always the very best place to hang out, but you guys have a great team. So I'm a big fan of, using each other, holding each other to account. What are, on some level, maybe and maybe you didn't sign up for this kind of rigor, but here again, you have to decide what do you really want out of life? Are you okay to just be where you are? And why do people quit network marketing? It is fear, but it's, on some level, it's because they're tired of lying to themselves, and they know, what? I'm not willing to do the work. I'm not going to do the work, and I don't want to keep making myself wrong and feel like I won't say, loser or disappointment, but I don't want to be like a failure. So I'm just going to quit. It's easier to just say, what? I'm not going to play that game anymore. And there's nothing wrong with that. But here again, if you have things in your life that you know that your plan A is not going to achieve for you, and it's, like I said, it doesn't have to be about money. It doesn't have to be about material things. I mean, it took us a long time to kind of have people realize that we really were successful. Why? Because we spent a lot of our earnings on our family. I mean, Mitra's family in India, and it's like people don't, well, you're not driving some big fancy car, Doug. You're not doing this, you're not doing that. It's like I spent it in a certain way that you wouldn't necessarily know that it. That's just how those are the values that I have and where I spend my money. Nowadays, it's a little bit different in terms of, not like flaunting what I have, but people take notice, kind of like, what are you doing? Like, oh, you have a boat and you have a van. Oh, and your wife drives the Porsche and you do this and your kids go there and go to that school and da-da-da-da. So it's up to you to decide what is really important. But then in the end, you have to figure out how to get out of your comfort zone, do the things you fear the most first, and just, kind of follow the system and take advantage of the support that you have, whether it's in Team Mix or Shining Star at Large or Team Adventure Plus, or, find a buddy that will hold you accountable. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that, just in terms of, it's the new year. Just in review, the 80-20 rule is always in effect. In terms of, recruiting 5 and hoping that 1 does it, you can always make numbers. Talk to more people. I mean, the distributor support, when they used to always, Tanya Oxley, her line was like, well, I've got 3 things to say to your new team member who's kind of disappointed with where their business is right now. And those 3 things are: talk to more people, and finally, talk to more people. So you can make numbers work to your advantage. And then, are you your worst enemy? I mean, is Doug 2 taking Doug 1 out of the game? And you can always renegotiate. The one thing about integrity, the integrity of Doug 2 in relationship to Doug 1, is that you can always put integrity back in place. It happens just like this. You realize, hey, I really want to double my paycheck, or I want to get to that next promotion, and I know that I can honestly look in the mirror and say, I haven't been doing the work, I haven't been showing up to the meetings, I haven't been getting on the calls, I said no to the conference. You can always say, that's not my commitment. My commitment is to actually make that next level that I want to get to, and then just put your integrity back in place, just like that. So, if you feel like this is kind of hitting home for you, like maybe you've been treating it more like a hobby than a business, you can always just say, you know what, I'm going to fire myself right now. Doug 2, you're fired. And then you can wake up tomorrow and rehire yourself. Doug 1 can renegotiate with Doug 2, and Doug 2 can start fresh as a daisy tomorrow morning, knowing exactly what he has to do and the effort that he has to put in to get the result. So with that, I'll leave it at that, and just, I don't know if people have questions or want to ask me about what's going on for them. But happy to kind of just support the team and kind of encourage each of you that are on this call, or whoever kind of gets together with this call on a regular basis, to kind of play a game with yourself. Have some accountability, talk about what you're going to do, whether it's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. But in the end, you got to keep putting ones in the new team member column for your 12-month analysis, and there is no secret to how this business makes people get what they want. It's in the end, it's just about talking to people, signing up those who want to, recognizing who's going to be a 20%er and who's going to be an 80%er. Because the other thing about the 80-20 rule is you can't always turn an 80%er into a 20%er. They're happy to be an 80%er. They've done what they're going to do, and maybe that's all they're going to do. So don't waste your time trying to convince that person that they should be a 20%er when in their heart they know they're an 80%er. But as circumstances change and people's lives change, maybe that 80%er becomes a 20%er, not because they decided, oh, I'm going to do things different now, but maybe they had to. Their partner lost their job, or the public school wasn't working for their kids and they needed to pay for private school. They couldn't drive the car anymore because they needed money to buy a new one. There's just like an endless list of things that people want more of in their life, and then you just have to figure out how to go and get it. And in the end, there's nothing that you haven't wanted in your life. There's nothing that you don't have in your life because you wanted it bad enough that you went after it. The things that you don't have in your life, they're probably just not that important, or you just haven't really put in the work that's required for you to get where you are today versus where you want to be tomorrow. So there you have it. Am I still broadcasting?
You are still broadcasting. Yeah, and just
anybody.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I didn't know if anybody have any questions or comments, or what Lindsay 2 is saying to Lindsay 1 right now, or vice versa.
You cut out right then.
Oh. I didn't know if Lindsay 2 has a certain conversation about Lindsay 1 or vice versa.
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure. There's definitely, in this business, it is real easy, especially if you try and do it from home, to come up with different things that might be more important, like unloading the dishwasher or doing this, that, or the other thing. When Tegan goes down for a nap, I only have a certain amount of time to either invest in this business or this house. Sometimes you have to decide, what's going to be more important and what's going to be your priority today. So yeah, I mean, sometimes, what you want has to line up with what you're doing. I can't want to make 24 Club and decide to unload the dishwasher during her nap, even though that's important too. Travis can do that later. He'll appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes he'll laugh because that is the one chore that I just hate doing. But I mean, it does absolutely. When I was for my NMD promotion, it was my number one top priority. It trumped everything else because I had to be all in to achieve that kind of massive action really quickly. So what I wanted absolutely lined up with what I was doing. So I think that is an important lesson from your story, that those two definitely have to line up, and it's easy to get distracted, whether it's fear or your to-do list, life. It is easy to get distracted in this business. So to put it on your calendar and to plan and to have a specific time set out for Juice Plus, I think is really important.
Yeah, right, no, I mean, it's an entrepreneurial. Pretty soon you can teach Tegan.
Oh, you have kids, right?
Well, I think the biggest thing about this whole business is you have to have your goals, set your goals and then obtain them. And how are you going to obtain them? And that's what you and I have done throughout this whole business. And, that's what makes us successful with this is we're very goal-oriented people and set goals, and that's what we do. So it's hard for me to relay that to other people because I don't know how they reflect on those things, So I don't know how to explain that either in a call on, if we had 20 people on this one, how to relay that message. But it does work. Don't give up and keep going.
Yeah, no, it's an entrepreneurial venture. You know, on some level, you have to make a commitment to yourself that you're going to say no to the things that bring you instant gratification. You know, where it's familiar and you know what the result is versus, oh well, maybe I'm going to just pass on that weekend because I've got work to do. You know, and it's always a choice, but it's well worth it. I'll encourage all of you to just kind of, you know, work as a team, make sure that people, you know, as a team, everybody knows what the other person's looking to do. And then I think, you know, different things motivate me. I don't know that I was goal oriented. You know, I did write a bunch of stuff down, but the other thing for me was that I had so much fun. I got such a charge out of like having other people get enrolled in what I was doing. Like, you know, when it comes to what Juice Plus is and what Transform 30 does for people's health, to really be able to change people's health and improve the quality of their lifestyle, you know, I get a charge out of that. And sometimes I kind of look at like, you know, oh, why do I need to kind of keep helping other people? Like, why don't I just kind of like, you know, sail off into the sun with that? You know, I as a people person, I always come back to like, wow, like there's just an endless number of people out there who are looking for something better. And, you know, the biggest challenge is for all of us to just get out of our own way and, you know, take the action required to get what you want. So with that, I won't keep rambling, but I appreciate you inviting me on the call, and I'm happy to kind of, you know, whether it's three ways or, you know, you guys are all part of our team and vice versa. So I appreciate the opportunity to kind of get to know, you know, the new people and support the people that, you know, I already know, and make a difference, and hope, you know, not hope, but literally, you know, do the work that's required to have everyone achieve their goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And we totally appreciate your take in that. I mean, it is a valuable lesson to talk about. So absolutely, I appreciate your take on that. And talking about Doug 1 and Doug 2, we all have that going on. So good to kind of fire and rehire yourself. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I know it's getting late. Does anybody have any questions for Doug while we have him here?
Ken, it's time to take down your Christmas tree.
And Ken, time to take down your Christmas tree. I agree. I already made fun of that earlier.